What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Two Friends Talking. I'm Chase. This is my co-host Ricky, and this is our weekly podcast where we talk about all things sports, primarily NFL fantasy football and our pick'ems. Rick, how are we doing?
Doing all right. I've had to rededicate to the gym because my dream of being rich on FanDuel's not working out for me.
A shame. It feels like it's been forever since we recorded last week's episode. I don't know why.
It has.
In fact, it was shorter time because we recorded a day late, but it feels weird right now.
Yeah, it does feel weird. It feels like we should have recorded this a few days ago. But also, that may just be the fact that our season's over. So we don't give a shit as much anymore. That could be it.
Hey, speak for yourself. My FanDuel season is very much alive and thriving.
Mine is not, and if you want, we can go right into it. I'm pretty upset about it.
Let's see what you got. How'd you do last week?
It didn't do well. I had 84 points. I want y'all to simmer on that first for a second. Okay, 84 points.
What place is that?
I'm gonna scroll. That's 351st out of 396. I want you to take a look at this right here. One player got me almost half of
pretty
those
good.
points.
That's lots of big turnout by Joe right there.
And then you take a look at the rest of this. And it's dog shit.
You look at this and you kind of just stop and ask for a second of like, what went wrong?
Yeah, I mean, Gesicki, the Ravens are the worst team in the league at covering the tight end. Does nothing. Baltimore scores 35 points. Zay Flowers only has 4 receptions, 34 yards. Wouldn't have seen that coming.
No.
Achane no-showed. The Eagles destroyed the Cowboys, and Barkley only had 66 yards. Don't see that coming either.
I mean, we kind of call it that, though. That this would be the week the Dallas run defense picked it up, knowing you picked him.
Yeah. And then Iovash, however you pronounce it.
I don't think you can be upset about that one.
No, but some fourth string guy ended up with 2 touchdowns that I've never even heard of. That would have been usually him. So it's
you know what that tells me though. That means Iovash is due this week. You need to restart him again.
I almost picked up Achane this week, but I said, you know what? I'm not gonna do it. And I'm not super excited. I was not confident in this team, but I expected over 100 points. Get close to the money like I've been.
Well, and I bet after Thursday Night Football, you were feeling like, oh, this is definitely going to happen.
Yeah, between Burrow and Iovash and Gesicki, I had over 50, over almost 45 points. I was like, okay, that's not bad. I still got Saquon, Achane, Flowers. Or Flowers, I had about 50 points, and I didn't see Flowers there.
That's right. Like, you were very front-loaded.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, this could be good. Hop could do something. Which 4 receptions, 56 yards isn't terrible. But I need one of those catches to be a damn touchdown, DeAndre. What are you doing? Jalen Coker, I can't be mad about that one. They did get the win. Good for them. I did like the Jalen Coker pick. I thought it would have been good, but it didn't work out this week. And you know what? I don't think I went with any similar picks on this next week's, but I got a feeling if I pick this same lineup again, it would be in the money. And you know what? I'm going to remember this lineup and see how they did. I'm going to take a picture of it right now so I know, because I got a feeling
they're going to go off this week. You were just 1 week off.
I'm going to get duped. I know it. So I just took a picture, and I'm going to revisit this next week.
Okay, well, we'll see. Well, look, I am back in the money after 1 week away, and you're probably thinking, wow, Chase, 143 points. I think that's the most points either of us have scored this year, and it was only good enough to get 76th place. Now, you're probably wondering, Chase, what about 2 weeks ago when you got 6th place? Yeah, I went back and looked, and the points I scored that week would have gotten me 50th place this week, or something like that. So, obviously, it just goes with the flow of the week. But look, Thursday night, I was on Cloud 9. So happy with Jamar and Joe. 89 combined points between the two of them. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get first place. I was convinced of that, right? Then the rest of my team didn't really hold up the end of the bargain. Big Money Kamara against Atlanta. I mean, he only had 55 yards. He also had 50 receiving yards, but no touchdowns makes it tough.
He did drop an 80. It would have been an 80 or a 12.6 point play. It was like it would have been a touchdown. He was like 60 yards, a catch, and a touchdown.
That's rough.
So he'd have been like 25 points right there.
See, that would have been insane.
Sucks.
That would have been nice. But Rico, look, he was cheap. I just thought, hey, maybe with the backup quarterback in, and he still only got 12 carries, but he actually didn't play horrible.
You know a shocking stat? He's ranked 9th in rushing efficiency this season. Wouldn't know it by watching them play.
Low volume. I don't know what the issue is.
Low
with it
volume
then.
and not scoring touchdowns.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The Eagles turned the ball over on the 6-yard line, and we kicked a field goal.
Yeah, well, and we gave it the ball to Zeke the first time, both drives.
And then he Oh God! Don't get me started on that game.
Look, Jamar balled out. I mean, one of the best receiving games I've ever watched since I've been watching NFL. Now, Ladd McConkey, not so much the best. 2 catches for 52 yards, and I'm pretty sure he had those at halftime. Didn't get the ball in the second half at all.
Yep.
Disappointing. D-Hop coming off his 2-touchdown game. Should have known there was going to be some sort of setback against Denver, a good defense, and there was. I mean, they only put up 16 points. He only had 4 catches. This is my disappointment here. Cade Otton. I've been riding in the last few weeks, and he's been really good for me. He had 5 catches and 35 yards at halftime, so I'm thinking...
You know what that means?
Oh, yeah, this is good, you know? And then he didn't get another target in the second half, or he didn't get another catch, which was disappointing.
You know what this means?
What's that?
He's due next week.
That's true. Jalen Waddle did okay Monday night. I mean, not really.
Oh, 57. Just so you know, that 57 yards was on the first drive.
Yeah, he had 55 yards on the first drive, and then he had 1 catch like late game.
He didn't get shit else after that.
And then the Commanders' defense, 6 points. Honestly, I'll take 6 points for my defense all day long.
Yeah, that's not terrible.
Especially since I went cheap there, so no complaints. But yeah, so good enough for 76th place, which wins me $5. We're trending in the right direction. So Rick, let's see what you got for this week.
I hate this team, which means it's going to do well. Okay, I'm going with the stack.
Did you hate last week's team?
I wasn't sure about last week's team.
Okay.
It could have gone either way. This week's team, I hate it.
Okay.
Which means it's going to do well.
Speak to me.
So I've got Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown against Jacksonville. Good matchup to put a lot of points. The goofball needs to bounce back after a 5-pick game that he won.
Somehow.
Crazy. That's going to be a bounce back game. The Jags defense is not very good. They should be able to feast there. Got Kareem Hunt against Buffalo. Buffalo gives up a lot of points to running backs. There's my thought process there. Javonte, I couldn't pick another running back I wanted.
Hasn't really been good this year. He's a running back that I like, but he doesn't really put up a lot of numbers, but I like him. Don't know why, but I just do.
He probably won't do shit this game either. But there was nobody else I liked in that range, and this is the very last position I picked up. So there's that. Cortland Sutton. Hopefully he throws another touchdown pass. That's what I'm going for here. He threw one like 2 weeks ago.
I think you'd rather him catch one.
Yeah. But he's been performing decent for the price, so I'm going to stick with that one. Got Ladd McConkey here. He's due.
Yeah, maybe bounce back week.
He's due. Cincinnati, shit defense. McConkey, fast, can score touchdowns. That's my goal here.
I love that. I love that breakdown of it right there.
Yeah,
fast, can score touchdowns.
That's it. Brock Bowers, I think he's going to be able to eat over the middle of the field. He's their number 1 receiver.
We really haven't seen him feature in either of our lineups for the last 4 weeks or so. 5 weeks.
He's been playing pretty well actually. So he's just on a team that no one cares about, unfortunately for them. Here's kind of my hopeful breakout player here. Baltimore's defense is the worst at covering receivers. This is going to be the 3rd receiver in that lineup, Calvin Austin the 3rd.
Yeah.
Hoping he just gets a random touchdown where he's open for some reason because they're covering everybody else. Just scores. That's the goal here. He averages like 6 points a game. I'm hoping to at least get 8.
Yeah. How much do he cost? 4,200.
5,200. So not very much. I probably could have swapped him out for somebody else since I still had 200 left, but I went with the 32nd.
I like the value
rank.
Here. Takes $200 and you reinvest it next week. It carries over.
Exactly. And then I got with the Indianapolis Colts because they were cheap and they're playing the Jets, and the Jets are shit.
Yeah, I mean the Colts defense ain't that great either, but I like the mindset there.
Yeah, I don't anticipate getting any points from the Colts defense here. It's going to be 0. But there's the chance that Rodgers throws a few interceptions and maybe one gets returned for a touchdown or something like that. So that's the team. I hate it. I don't want it to do well, because if this team does well, then I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Because I picked it like I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So that's my team this week. Let's see what your money team's going to be.
I want to put this out there beforehand. I'm not in love with my roster. It's not sexy. It's a very gritty roster. And 6 of my 9 players in my lineup are in the North Division, either the AFC or the NFC. So it's super top heavy. The North is up on the.
Okay. Yep.
Anyways, here's what we're working with. Starting out, leading the ship is Russ. Okay.
I like the Russ pick.
He's been having a pretty solid season since he's been back. And look, Baltimore, like we said, Baltimore doesn't have a good defense. That's their weakest link. But I think this could be I don't think it's going to be a shootout, but I think it's going to be a pretty back and forth game. It always is a competitive one between Baltimore and Pittsburgh. So I like Russ a lot here. And cheap value right there, 7,800. It's hard to get good production out of the quarterback position, and but he's done well. Now I'm pairing him up with his number 1 receiver, George Pickens, part-time receiver, part-time WWE superstar. He will just randomly suplex defenders for no reason. But look, he's kind of had some on and off games, but I think he's starting to kind of hit his stride with Russ. Once again, goes back to Baltimore's defense not being good. So I like Pittsburgh.
And there's a viable option outside of him with Mike Williams they picked up at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
So that's another person where they actually have to pay attention to instead of just nobody.
Instead of just him, yeah.
So he just gets to do a little bit more work over the middle, and Mike Williams can stay out there and just
kind of be that
routes.
Deep threat guy. Yeah. So I like that. I think this is going to be a good week for George. Now the running back position, I'm going with the head-to-head matchup in the NFC North, Green Bay versus Chicago. Josh Jacobs, DeAndre Swift. Both of these guys are coming off of pretty disappointing games. 11 points for Jacobs and only 7 for Swift. But, I mean, these guys have shown that they can put up 20-plus point games easily. But when I think of the NFC North, I think of some smash mouth, running the football type playing, and so I think that's what we're going to get this week with Green Bay and Chicago. Chicago's coming off a pretty bad loss. They just fired their offensive coordinator. So you know what interim offensive coordinators like to do? They like to establish the run. And Green Bay, once again, I think they're just going to run the ball here. I think they're going to try to establish their dominance over Chicago, pound the rock, make it easy on Jordan Love, and that's where I like Josh Jacobs and DeAndre Swift. I think this is going to be a good one. And it's okay, even if this game is boring. The only way I get hurt on this one is if this game just turns into a complete shootout where they just stop throwing the ball. Or they stop running the ball, excuse me.
Yeah.
Going down the receiver room. So look, I could have swore I picked Calvin Ridley last week, and I didn't.
Yeah,
and of course, he goes off for 23 points. He had 2 touchdowns. Yeah. I don't know if I was just talking about it or what, but look, Minnesota's defense
almost picked Calvin Ridley last week.
Minnesota's defense is good, actually, one of the best in the league, but they still allow receivers to catch passes. They aren't the greatest in the intermediary like receiving zone. And I think that's where Calvin Ridley is going to be able to tear him apart. Across the middle, kind of like on the flat, like curl flats on the outside where the Vikings aren't good, and kind of just chip away at him. And if he can get a touchdown, it's all worth it. I mean, he's my cheapest player at 6,400. So
it's crazy. Pick. He's cheaper than Hawkinson.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild.
Receiver, back to the AFC North. We're going with Zay Flowers. Still Baltimore's number 1 receiver. He has had on and off games. Been good, bad, good, bad. Last week he was bad, so I'm hoping he bounces back. Pittsburgh does have a good defense, but I mean, it just depends on if Lamar wants to throw the ball to Zay this week or not, and if he wants to hold on to it. That's really the determining factor.
Yeah.
So we're finally kicking the boot of Kate Otten and getting him out. We're going with my favorite tight end, TJ Hawkinson. He actually had a pretty solid week last week with 11 points. But 9 targets, 8 catches. I think like 7 of his 8 catches were first down conversions. So look, this is going to be his
chain mover, getting the end zone.
This is going to be his 3rd week back, starting to kind of build that chemistry with Darnold. Look, Darnold didn't have a good game last week. He turned the ball over in the red zone 3 times, which could have been 3 TJ Hawkinson touchdowns in theory. So look, against Tennessee, they don't have a good defense. I don't think they don't have a good offense. Vikings are going to dominate this one, and I look for them to get big man involved. Flex here, I was a little torn on this one, but there's not a lot that I can go with. Amari Cooper is still questionable. Keon Coleman is out. So that leaves Khalil Shakir to be, I believe, their number 1 receiver. And, I know you were talking about some stats earlier in the year where, like, he had caught every single ball thrown his way. I don't know if that's still the case, but for 6,500, for him to be probably their interim receiver 1 this week in a game that I think is going to be a shootout against Kansas City, I like the value there. Yeah. And then lastly, so I contemplated the Colts defense like you because of who they're playing, but I think Seattle's defense isn't bad. I get they're playing San Francisco, but these games are pretty close typically between the NFC West opponents. So I figured 3,200, look, maybe they force a turnover, maybe whatever, get a couple sacks.
Bank on a turnover in a game like that.
Yeah. But no, I like the Seahawks here, so this is my lineup. It's not pretty. Team. It's not pretty. It's a bunch of gritty players from the north, but I got a feeling they're gonna, winter is coming. And the north is gonna be ready. So with that, Rick, let's pass it back over to you to kind of go over this last week's picks, what your record was, and if there was any that stood out to you.
Yeah, went 7-7, 500. Not too ecstatic about that. Wanted to get a few games back on you, but not the worst week I've had for sure. I think the best game of the week was the Ravens-Bengals game.
Yeah, that was a good-ass game.
Just awesome to watch. Jamar was going crazy. Not too many shockers, to be honest with you. It's pretty normal standard week. Just a lot of the things were just... This game was... The Kansas City Chiefs just knew they were going to block that kick as soon as they kicked that field goal.
Think the Chiefs
just knew it.
I think the Chiefs have some like voodoo magic or something going their way because
they got a horseshoe up their ass because I don't know how they got out of that game. But it's like as soon as they lined up to kick that field goal for the win, I just knew. I'm like LeBron James. I just knew it was going to happen.
Okay.
But pretty normal standard week. Like this is a bad beat here. Like come on, you gotta beat the Saints. Like what are you doing? But normal week, nothing too crazy. But the 5 picks, man, that's the biggest, the craziest thing besides Kansas City was the 5 picks, and they still won the game.
Yeah,
bad beat. Only won by 3.
Covered by 3, and they need 3.5. That was a tough one.
Bad beat there, but like. They should have lost that game, and Houston just gave it away.
Gave 19 unanswered points in the second half.
Yeah, like people got CJ Stroud up in that upper echelon of quarterbacks. I think they're gonna need to bounce him down a tier to where he's still young, up and comer, and not go ahead and put him up there with Lamar's, Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, all those people they've been trying to put him with. He's not there yet. Maybe one day, but
I agree.
Not a crazy week. 7-7. Looking to improve this week, but. How'd you do this week? I have not seen it yet.
So another improvement over you, 9-5. So just expanding my lead. I'm inching my way up. If y'all remember a few weeks ago, I was top 1,500.
You were.
I'm at top 11,510 right now. We're inching our way up. Okay, it's baby steps. I agree with you. Bengals-Ravens game was insane. It was a very good one. Another good game was the Steelers-Commanders, and it came down to the wire. This was one we both got this wrong. I thought the Commanders were going to look better, but look, the Steelers, with Russ at the helm,
in Russ we trust.
It's kind of looking like them benching Justin Fields for us was the smart decision. Their offense looks a lot better. I remember I was on Red Zone, watched it, the deep touchdown from Russ to Mike Williams, and they asked Mike Williams, they're like, have you ran that route in practice at all since you got traded here? And he's like, nope, that was the first time. And he caught like a 65-yard bomb or something. But the Steelers look pretty good. Another matchup that was kind of shocking was the Dolphins and the Rams. The Rams have looked pretty good in recent weeks, whereas the Dolphins, they just got Tua back, 2 weeks ago, right? And he's already back out there making tackles with his head. Stupid. But the Rams didn't look good. The last 2 or 3 weeks, Kyron Williams really hasn't been seeing the production or the efficiency that he had been at the start of the season. And I haven't really been watching their games super in detail, but I'm wondering if they're kind of trying to get back to forcing the ball to Kupp and Puka and throwing it more. and getting away from running, which was working for them. When they ran the ball, it was doing well, and it was doing me well in fantasy because I have Kyron in both my leagues, and now I'm looking like I should have traded him, if we're being honest. So, so I'm up to 85 and 67 on the year, which, looking back to the last time we did this, when we both finished right around 500, the fact that we're over halfway through the season and we're...
I'm 81 and 71, 10 games over.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I mean, a lot better than what we were last time.
Yeah.
Because I think we're like 14, within a game or two.
I'm like 13 games over, 18 games. 18 games. I'm 18 games ahead. Over 500.
Yeah.
So
pretty good.
Pretty good. But look, let's pass to you. Let's see about you bouncing back. I know you've been saying all this talk about this is a week I go 16-0, but let's see if this is the week that you can go 16-0.
I got a foolproof plan.
Okay. You want me to do my picks first and you fade me?
Pick the team that's going to win. That's my foolproof plan. So I've got the Eagles here. I almost went with the Commanders in the points because I think it'll be close. But I think this is going to be a game where you just see the experience of a Jalen Hurts versus a Jaden Daniels.
Okay.
I just got a feeling that the Eagles are going to take control of the division here with a win, and the Commanders come down to earth a little bit because they've been overperforming because they still got a lot of holes on that team they got to fix.
They do. They're still a very young team. And
I mean, last year they were the second pick and now they're 7-3. So, I mean, the team needs more work. I think they're maybe a year or two from being like serious contenders, but they're on the right track. I think the Eagles kind of cut them down a peg and take the lead of the division here. Interdivisional game, just fired the OC. I think the quarterback coach, I think I read a stat that since last year, the head coach has fired or had 14 coaches resign, that were fired or resigned since last season.
Jeez.
And that's insane.
Makes you wonder who the actual problem is.
Yeah, maybe the coach shouldn't have been there, which I thought they should have fired the coach before they drafted the quarterback first anyway.
I agree.
They should have got Lincoln Riley to come out of USC because he's not looking too great over there, which I think could happen. Would be kind of crazy.
That'd be interesting.
But interdivisional game, the fired coach bump. It's like a death game.
The dead cat bounce. Game. The dead cat bounce.
Yeah. So gonna take the 6.5. That's a lot of points. This is a lot of points.
That's a lot of points.
Deserved.
That's a lot of points.
Deserved. I think the Lions are gonna have to bounce back this week. They're gonna pummel them. Amon-Ra over the middle. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. They're gonna have to pummel them this week. Taking the Vikings at 6.5. Somehow I feel like this is gonna bite me in the ass because Darnold has not been playing well, but this is a get back game, get right game. Even though they've still not been, they've been winning, but this is a game where you get back on track and you start looking like the quarterback you were looking at earlier in the season.
Yeah.
I saw L'Jarius Sneed posted something saying on his Instagram or something, posting a picture of him in his Kansas City jersey, and then him in his Tennessee Titan jersey with a face palm emoji. And then he deleted it. So they're not happy. They're not happy there. They're 2-7. They suck. Probably going to continue to suck. 7.5 points against the Dolphins. Too many points. Both these teams aren't very good. It'll be close. Maybe.
I don't know. That's an ugly game.
It is. This, I think, is also going to be an ugly game, but I expect the Rams to cover. They shouldn't lose to teams who are 2-6, 2-7, or 3-7. They shouldn't be.
Well, they did last week.
Exactly. They shouldn't be doing it. So they need to bounce back here. I know their offensive line sucks and their defense needs some work, but come on now. You're better than this. You're better than this. And Jameis, we trust. That's really it.
Yeah, and the Saints. The Saints suck.
Yeah, they beat the Falcons last week.
Don't know how.
Kind of weird.
They lost the Panthers the week before.
Yeah.
So
NFC South for you, buddy. Who knows? Trash teams. The trash bowl. If they're smart, they both lose this game, but they're not. So Cleveland will win. I think this will probably be the best game of the week, other than the Kansas City Buffalo game.
So the second best game of the week, then.
Those two games, I don't know which one.
One of them.
It's going to be better. It's going to be one of those two games. I could see it being close, but I just feel like Baltimore's got too much firepower. Their defense is not great, but I'm expecting them to cover the 3.5.
This game has no justice being at noon.
No, they should flex this, but it's too late now.
Give it to me Sunday night in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm expecting the Colts to win this game, but it's going to be another heartbreaker for the Jets, where they'll lose. The Jets are going to lose somehow, but I'm fading it.
It's it's kind of tough to put faith in the Joe Flacco led Colts currently.
Both these teams are just ugly to watch. It's not fun.
Yeah.
It's just not fun. I bet the Jets are going to lose somehow on some stupid play, and that's what I think is going to happen.
So why don't you pick the Colts?
Against that. I'm picking against it because I know that's what I think is going to happen. So the opposite's going to happen this week, and that's why I'm going 14-0.
Do the opposite of what you think is going to happen.
Exactly. I think the Falcons win this game. They lost last week to an inferior team. I think Denver's got a good defense. The Falcons' defense isn't bad. I just think Kirk is a better quarterback, and that's where I'm putting my faith in. I'm putting my faith in Kirko Chains. 6.5 points is just too much for this rivalry game here, I think, especially when both teams have not looked like they're all that great. They're both middle of the road.
Yeah,
teams.
I mean 4-5, 5-4. You know,
spread's too big. Even though they got McCaffrey back, I still think the spread's too big. I think it'll be a close game. I wouldn't be shocked if the Seahawks won. That's how these teams have been playing this year.
Yeah,
it's plain and simple. Kansas City. I don't know how you pick against them if they're not favored. At this point, they just
in Buffalo. It's starting to get cold out.
Yeah, but Kansas City is. I mean, they play in the snow there too. It's not
also,
like
it's also cold in Kansas City. Yeah.
Yeah, so like that don't really matter. It's gonna be a very fun game to watch. I'm glad this one's at 3:25, and then the Ravens or the Ravens
roll right from that one into
Steelers.
this game.
Exactly. This will be an interesting game here. I do think Kansas City is going to cover. Whether or not they win, I don't know. I feel like this could be one of those games where the Bills kick a field goal to win at the end, and they only go up by 2, something like that. But I'm gonna take Kansas City with the points. If it would have been a pick 'em, I might have taken the Bills, but the 2.5 points just seems like it's a little too much for me. You got the Sunday night game. This could potentially be a good game too.
And the Chargers are very quietly 6-3.
Yeah, they're not bad. They're not a bad team. They're boring. They grind you out. They're just a boring team to watch.
They're a Big Ten football team.
Exactly. And Jamar and them are going to keep throwing because I think Jamar's leading in touchdowns, receptions, yards.
He's going for the Triple Crown.
They're throwing the ball all over the lot. They just can't win football games when it matters. Mind-boggling.
Well, what's your thoughts on them going for 2 last week?
They have an inferior team. You go for 2 to try and get the win.
It's the thing. It's like you look fine. You look good if you win and you get it. You don't if you don't. But like I'm always a fan of going for 2.
Go for the win. We're convicts. We always go for the win.
Yeah, end it right then and there.
This is a shame that this is the Monday Night Football game. Unfortunately, I'll watch this game.
Unfortunately.
It's
you
not
don't think
be a good game.
You think Dallas's defensive line could give any issues to the Texans here? I mean, they did sack Jalen Hurts 5 times last week.
Yeah, and they still lost 34-6.
Fair enough.
The Dallas tackles are not very good. The Houston Texans put a lot of pressure on the edge.
That's true. Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson.
This is a recipe for disaster. Cooper Rush is going to throw for another 45 yards. They're going to throw Trey Lance in there. His first pass will be a pick, and then he'll throw 4 more. And then our team won't win when we throw 5 picks because that's just ridiculous, and we don't have that good of a team. Yeah. So Houston definitely going to cover here. Pick 45 points. I think it might be 45-0. It's going to be another romp. It's going to be bad, but I'll be watching. So that's the winning formula. My formula, my trick, pick the team that's going to win.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of trying to do the same process of picking the winning team, right? Well, not picking the team that's going to cover. That's my process. Pick the team that's going to cover.
Yeah.
So we've got a few different So look, neither of us are going to go 14-0 if we're being realistic. But if one of us were, I like my odds. Starting
First
off,
two off the bat.
first game off the rip, I'm taking the Commanders here. I think they win this one outright. They got to bounce back coming off that loss against Pittsburgh. They got to kind of look themselves in the mirror and say, where did it go wrong? They just lost to one team from Pennsylvania last week, and they can't lose to another in back-to-back weeks. You just can't do that.
Shit,
right?
I didn't think of that.
So look, give me the 50-50 with the state of Pennsylvania pick right here, and that's the Commanders plus 3.5. I was kind of back and forth on this one because this is a big spread for a game that I think could be close and it's going to be a physical game. But I can't get over the fact that the Bears just suck. I mean, they just fired their OC, and interim offensive coordinators usually like to run the ball a lot. And when your quarterback hasn't been playing, I mean, apparently, which I don't believe that this is true, first off, but apparently some of the veterans are going to the coach asking to bench Caleb Williams for Tyson Bagent or whatever. Like, I don't believe that, but drama in the locker room. You know who that benefits? That benefits the Cheeseheads. Give me the Packers here.
The first three off the rip were different.
Look, I mean, that's a lot of points. 13.5 points is a lot. Do the Lions win by 2 touchdowns? There's a very good chance they do. Because they've beaten better teams by more. But I got to take the points. I would not be able to go to bed tonight if I pick Lions minus 13.5.
Yeah, I'm taking a whole bunch of NyQuil tonight to go to bed because I picked the Lions.
Look, the Titans are pretty awful. They're 2-7 for a reason. The Vikings, meanwhile, the last 2 wins of theirs have been pretty ugly. But what have they done? They've just found a way to win. They were close. They didn't play good. They turned the ball over, but they found a way to win. And I think that's just what they're going to continue to keep doing. This is a scrappy team. Brian Flores has that defense flying around, looking great. The running game between Aaron Jones and now Cam Akers has looked pretty solid. And, Darnold just has to not throw it to the opposing team. And Justin Jefferson, Addison, or Hawkinson are going to do something with it. So I like the Vikings here. I'm with you. I think this is kind of like a bounce back, like, hey, let's get back to kicking ass type of game and move forward.
Are you just fading me on all your picks right now?
I'm not, but it does seem like that. Look, the Raiders suck. The Dolphins just showed that, like, with Tua, the Dolphins are not that bad. Like, they held their own against the Bills, and they barely lost. They just beat the Rams, who we both have already said that we think are a pretty solid team. Meanwhile, the Raiders aren't. I think the Raiders are tanking for Shadur, or one of the quarterbacks in this draft. So, look, I think the Dolphins win this one. They are still explosive with Tyreek and with Jalen Waddle and Achane and Raheem Mostert. Like, it's still one of the most explosive offenses in the league. They just got to stay healthy and get things clicking. And I think they win this one pretty easily. This just feels like a game that the Patriots cover, if not win.
This week should be real bad for one of us.
Rams got to go all the way across the country to New England. Cold weather. Some Cali boys don't like the cold weather, okay? Matt Stafford, he's originally from Highland Park, Texas. In case you didn't know, he went to high school with Clayton Kershaw. If you haven't watched any of his games ever, he's not built for the cold like that. This just feels like it's going to be a physical, ugly game, and that benefits the points here. Give me the 5.5. But I wouldn't be shocked if the Patriots somehow win this one outright. Drake May is playing better, and he's looking good. Big game for Ramondre Stevenson here, I think.
Okay.
I'm with you on this one. The Saints are atrocious. Give me the Browns. This should have been a pick 'em, but this is going to be an ugly game. I have zero interest in watching this game.
We've only had two similarities so far.
Yeah. This is going to be an ugly game. I don't think this is going to be one to watch, but I think the Cleveland Browns win this one outright. Okay. I think, and I just want to be clear, I haven't changed my picks. I think Pittsburgh actually wins this game outright. Pittsburgh is a more complete.
More than 3.5, huh?
I think they win the game outright.
Well,
so I think they beat the Ravens, not discover. I'll say it. I think the Steelers are a more complete team. Now, if you look at the high end, the Ravens have the better players at the high end. Lamar Jackson is better than anybody on the Steelers. Derrick Henry is better than anybody on the Steelers.
Well,
But
now you got
that's
TJ Watt.
okay, fair. But he's on defense.
Minka.
They're both better than Minka. But TJ Watt, maybe he's in between Lamar and Derrick Henry. But anyways, but meanwhile, after that though, who do the Ravens have? They don't have
Porter Jr.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Meanwhile,
George
the Steelers,
Pickens,
it's like
WWE champion.
The Ravens are very top loaded, and then it kind of goes, whereas the Steelers are spread throughout of solid contributors. And I think that depth really helps you in games like these, where it's going to be physical, it's going to be cold, tough interdivisional game, and I like the Steelers to come out on top of this one. It's at home. They've had some steam under Russ. They're looking good. They continue to get better. I like the Steelers here. I
did have the Jets here, so
yeah, this is another one. This is like the Browns Saints game where this game's just gonna be ugly. I feel bad for you if you're a Colts or a Jets fan or Cowboys fan. Rough seasons. You know, the Jets, I remember everybody was saying like, oh, they're gonna be so good with Aaron Rodgers this year, like Breece Hall, and they suck. But the Colts also, we talked about this last week. Them benching Anthony Richardson is just a big mistake. You're gonna suck anyways. So you might as well suck with the first round rookie that needs to develop and needs reps.
Yeah.
Than the 40-year-old that's probably not going to take another step after this year. You know, it just doesn't make sense to me. But both of these teams are bad. I think the Jets are not as bad. So the Jets still have possibility of being an explosive offense and scoring points.
Yeah.
The Colts, I don't think I can say the same for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, Broncos' defense is really good. Their offense has looked decent in weeks. I mean, they only put up 14 points against Kansas City, but Kansas City does have one of the better defenses in the league. Regardless, the Falcons got embarrassed last week by the Saints. I think they need to bounce back and you know, because I think they're still leading the NFC South.
I believe so.
But they need to just widen the gap. They got to get back and show, like, hey, we're a legit player here. I know we lost to the Saints, but it happens.
Yeah.
I'm with you on this one. These games are always close. It seems like these NFC West games are always close. It doesn't matter who's playing, and anybody can win anybody. It depends on the day. I think the Seahawks can actually win this one outright as well. I don't know how McCaffrey played last week. I didn't see a stat line. I know he's expensive on FanDuel, like $9,800, which just does not seem worth it to me. The Seahawks, they started off good, and now they're 4-5. So I don't really. Have they lost 5 straight?
I think they were 3-0.
Okay,
and now they're 4-5.
Yeah, for some reason I thought they were 4-0, and now they're 4-5.
It might have been that, but it was. I think I'm pretty sure it was 3-0, and then they went downhill.
Yeah, it's been a rough stretch, but I think the Seahawks use this game as kind of like a get back of, hey, we need to lock it back in, contend for the division, and see what happens from there. I think Buffalo wins this one. You know, the Chiefs are 9-0. They also are the luckiest team in the league. I don't think they're going to catch those breaks this week. Josh Allen has been playing like an MVP candidate.
Yep.
You know, he's got like 27 touchdowns and like 3 picks, I think. Like just insane. Some of the stat lines from quarterbacks this year are just insane, like efficiency-wise. Him,
Lamar,
you
don't think he may shit
Burrow.
The bed this game?
Nope, I don't think so. He always plays good against the Chiefs. So my only concern is Amari Cooper's questionable. Keon Coleman's out. But I think they look to lean on James Cook and then let Josh Allen do what Josh Allen does. He hasn't really had good receivers for most of his career, so he doesn't really need them. Who did you pick on this one? You picked the Bengals also?
Bengals, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I first picked this game, I didn't think it was going to be that great, but after realizing, damn, the Chargers are actually 6-3. Like, they're in a playoff spot right now. They're a pretty solid team.
They're just boring.
And the Bengals they're fun to watch. They're 4-6, but they're fun to watch. Like when I was watching that Thursday night game against the Bengals, the Ravens, I was like, holy shit! Like this offense is explosive. You know, I mean, when you have a receiver there's not a lot of receivers in the league that are capable of going for 11 for like 270 and 3 touchdowns. Like maybe 5 receivers in the league could do that. You know, Joe Burrow threw 5 passing touchdowns for the second time this season. I mean, this is like the craziest offense to only win 4 games. It's insane, but I think they win this one outright. I don't know, actually. I'm taking the Bengals. Yeah, lastly, this one, we don't really need to talk about this too much. The Battle of Texas. I can't wait to hear all these annoying Texans fans yapping about how they're the better team in Texas, even though, Micah Parsons even came out and pretty much said, Mike McCarthy, you suck. I feel bad for Zach Martin. Not exactly, but it's not wrong. It's not wrong. The Cowboys honestly might not win another game this year. I'd be okay with it. I want them to keep starting Cooper Rush because they threw for 46 passing yards last week.
Yeah.
That is the lowest amount of passing yards I've ever seen in a game. 46.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's just crazy. Meanwhile, the Texans, they have been getting beaten up on the last 2 weeks, and I think they get to be the bully this week and beat up the Cowboys. My tiebreaker for that one is going to be 42. And yeah, look, I don't think I go 14-0 this week, but maybe like 12-2. I wouldn't be too upset with that.
Yeah, if you go 12-2, that means I've had a bad week.
Yeah. Well,
one of us is going to have a real bad week.
We'll see. I mean, look, I'm in the 94th percentile. I like my odds to continue to succeed. I like both of our odds in FanDuel this week because we have low expectations for our lineup. And you know what that means. Low expectations.
Elite production.
High performance and production, exactly. Yep. So, look, everybody, we appreciate y'all watching. Hope y'all enjoy football this week. Make sure you tune in next time. I'm Chase. This is Ricky. This is Two Friends Talking. We'll see y'all in the next one.
Cheers.
Cheers.